Krista. I'll get you in this too.
Recognize several people, and that would be the case with me also. I'll recognize several people throughout the course of the evening, and it seems as though I'm up here the longest because I have more things to do than anyone else, and I don't kind of relish that job, but that's one of the things I guess that goes along with the job of being head coach. So if you'll bear with me, we'll try to streamline things as much as we can, and we'll try to get through things as quickly as we can. You see, Mr. Ed, this is his first banquet here, but he's already gotten word of how long they are, so he's already settled in and he's prepared. He had a nice big meal. I checked his plate out when he went over, and he's well prepared. He can stay for several hours. Several days. In recognizing some people, no particular order, and I would like you, if you would, to hold your applause, to save it and conserve a little bit of time. But I do want to recognize several people before we get into the real main part of our program, and that is, as Mr. Ed said, what we're here for this evening, and that's to honor these young men and women here this evening. These are the people that made it happen. Not me or not anyone else. These are the people that made it happen. Without we had around here his name Joe, so I started calling him Joe. They called him George. And this was something each year, the football moms come up with something to put in the locker room. A couple years ago, it was, that's a check. The boys came up with a saying, that's a check, and so they put a redskin up in the locker room, and then prior to each game, they put a check up, and if we won that game, then they elected somebody to put the check.
Something that we like to give her, to show her our appreciation.
Like Christmas, isn't it? It's not even Thanksgiving. Another gentleman that is a big help with the football program, not only the football program, the wrestling program. This year, we talked about announcer earlier, but you know, the reserve games are held on Monday nights, and a lot of times the kids play on Monday nights. So that's where the younger kids get an opportunity to play and gain experience for their varsity years to come. And this year we had a person that took it upon his own to do some announcing. And if you would hold your applause, we're going to ask that they come up and stand in front of their plaques. And I'm going to ask Coach Shoemaker to assist me on this side, and Coach Singleton to assist me on this side to save time. And as I call their name, I have a little something to say about these young men, and then I would like for those coaches to present them with their plaques. So at this time, would the seniors please come forward? If you'll bear with me, I'd just like to make a couple comments about these guys. They hold a special place in my heart. They've done a tremendous job, and seniors are your backbone or your leadership group of your football team. They're the ones that everybody looks forward to and up to. The juniors that are sitting here at the table, they're going to be up here next year and in the driver's seat, so to speak, and they're going to have to take the bull by the horns and do the job. So at this time, I'd like to recognize each one of those young men for an outstanding job. And I've already told them before that, anything I can ever do for these young people, I want them to come and see me because their football career at Woodsville High School is over. I'll never forget them. And I want them always to come back and see me, no matter where they are, and whenever I can help them, I'll sure do that. First senior, Jim Handel. Jimmy, if you would step forward, please. Jimmy was a player that did not earn a lot of playing time this year, offensively or defensively, but believe me, fellas, Jimmy was very instrumental in our season this year. Jimmy did a lot of things Monday through Thursday that helped us tremendously in getting ready for our opponents. He was probably one of the most outstanding people on our scout team. In fact, a lot of weeks he scared me when he would be catching passes and so forth during the week on our scout team, scout offense, running the opponent's plays. I'd get concerned. I'm thinking, gee, is that going to happen Friday night? And Jim did a fine job. He had a good pair of hands. Jimmy came in and did some punting for us. He punted 13 times for 384 yards for a 29.5-yard average. And he punted at crucial times in games where, it was very crucial for us to get the ball away. As you know, we had a lot of wet ball games, and punting, snapping are not easy under those conditions. Jimmy never complained about not playing or how much playing time he got. That's always something that everybody, and I told these guys before, everybody wants to play all the time. But when you have 29 ball players, you ain't playing all the time. Not everybody's going to play all the time. And here Jimmy was a senior, and never once did I hear Jimmy say anything about how much playing time he was getting. Never once did I hear him say anything about having to run the scout offense or scout defense. He just did the job. So Jimmy, you're to be congratulated. Coach Singleton present with your plaque. Next senior, Jason Henthorne. Jason, will you please step forward? Jason was an offensive running back and also a defensive corner and strong safety. Jason was our third leading rusher this year. Jason experienced some unfortunate luck as far as being injured. We were pretty lucky this year as far as not having a lot of injuries, but Jason did break his hand at the end of the first half in the Fort Fry game, and he had to miss 2.5 games and still the third leading rusher. Jason came up with what I would call probably maybe the biggest play of the year. And most of you saw it against St. John's, and I told him in the locker room after the game, he was in the right place at the right time, and he caught that tip ball, and not only did he catch it, but he scooted into the end zone afterwards, and as you know, we won that game 7-0. He ran hard in practice at all times. He also did our punting, punted 33 times for 959 yards and a 29.1 average. So Jason, congratulations to you. Next fellow, the big guy here on my right, John Kaiser. John, will you please step forward? John epitomizes steady improvement. From John's freshman year to this year, I don't know that I've seen anybody improve more as a player offensively and defensively and as a kicker than what John did. You can just see him coming. I can remember Coach Shoemaker and Coach Singleton telling me when they go to away games that I couldn't attend, that he kept coming. And we knew that he was going to help us. He helped us last year, and he did a tremendous job. This year, he was our fourth leading tackler with 91 tackles. He had 7 CBLs. If you don't know what CBLs are, that means cut behind the line, tackling an opponent behind the line for minus yardage. He had 7 CBLs. He did a tremendous job kicking. He converted on 18 of 21 extra points and kicked 6 out of 9 field goals. And I didn't have a chance to do a lot of research, but I may be wrong on this, but he may have the longest field goal in Woodsville High School, at least as long as I've been here, in a 38-yard field goal against Bellsville. The first one just got in, but the last one could have cleared by more than 38 yards. John, an outstanding job this year. Coach Shoemaker. This next guy on my left, I refer to John as the big guy. I guess I can refer to him as a little guy because of where he played. He's a little guy for where he played. You're looking at an Daniel Carter, offensive and defensive tackle. And you don't see many offensive and defensive tackles that size. But the thing that he has that got the job done is he's got a big heart inside. And he was definitely a pleasant surprise. I talked about Jimmy and not complaining when he didn't get to play. You know, it's tough for these younger kids when they're freshmen and sophomores. You ask some of these guys when they don't get to play a lot. It's not really tough for them, it's sometimes tough for mom and dad when they don't get to play. But you have to pay your dues, people. You have to pay your dues, whether it's in a game of football or coaching or whatever. You've got to pay your dues. This guy paid his dues. He didn't play when he was a freshman. Didn't play when he was a sophomore. Played very little when he was a junior. But I guarantee he made up for it this year. This was basically his first year to play both ways, and he did a tremendous job. Never was he outplayed by anybody. He played against a kid from Fort Pride. That game was like 320 pounds, I believe. Daniel hung right in there. He hung right in there. He had 87 tackles, 7 CDLs, and I'm sure as an underclassman he considered maybe hanging it up at times, but he hung in there, gave an outstanding effort, and did a tremendous job. Daniel, congratulations. The next guy is a little guy, but in stature only. Stephen Hare. That's the only place where he's small. As far as heart is concerned, as far as spirit and enthusiasm is concerned, he stands tall. He had great enthusiasm, great spirit, and the one thing I liked about Stephen, and I noticed this not only in football and wrestling, he's my kind of guy because he shows emotion. And he really got emotional this year, and he did a tremendous job. He was our third leading receiver with 11.7 average. On defense, as a corner, he had 4 CDLs, and that's kind of tough as a corner to do that. He had 1 fumble recovery, and boy did he make it big. As you know, against Waterford, it was like we were in a funeral. Nobody was excited. You didn't feel like you were at a football game. The only time anybody got excited was when we had 2 good hits and Stephen picked that ball up and he went down the sidelines to the end zone, and that sparked us. We didn't play very well that night, but he did, and he did a heck of a job throughout the season. Congratulations, Stephen. We go back to the big guys now. On my left, Mike Kirkbride. Probably had as much experience, playing experience, as anybody that we had as a senior. Mike did an outstanding job this year. You know, I told Mike early in the year, and I told him throughout the course of the year, even until the last ball game, that when he wanted to play, there was nobody that could control him at nose guard. When he wanted to play, when he did what he was supposed to do, and when he went all out, there was nobody that could handle him. And you saw him in opponents' backfields many times throughout the course of the year. He was our third leading tackler with 97 tackles. He was our leader in quarterback sacks with 9. And he was second with CDLs. And he had 2 fumble recoveries. Mike did a fine job on defense. On offense, we don't throw the ball that much to our tight ends. And a couple times he was wide open. I wish we had got him the ball, but when he did come up with some big catches for us, and both offensively and defensively, Mike did a tremendous job. Congratulations, Mike. The last 2 guys, you talk about pleasant surprises. These are kind of storybook finishes, if you'll call that. The first one, Corey Bott, on my left. Corey was out for football before. In fact, he was out last year, and he decided not to continue. I'm not going to say quit, because Corey is not a quitter. You know what he did this year, and anybody that did what he did this year is not a quitter. In fact, you got to respect somebody that did what he did more than anything. He decided not to continue playing last year. He became one of our statisticians, would you believe? And he was keeping stats for these other guys. This year, he had some pretty good stats of his own. In fact, he had 85 tackles, he had 7 CBLs, and he had 7 sacks, 1 fumble recovery, and 1 super interception against Barnesville. He was also an offensive guard and did a good job offensively blocking. For not having much experience, I take my hat off to him for coming back and having a tremendous year. Congratulations, Corey. The final senior, this is another storybook finish. This guy never played at all before. In fact, I don't know, his last playing days as far as football was probably when he was in Little League or junior high. Never played at all in high school. Came out for the first time. I heard for 4 years. Troy's coming out, Troy Baker. Troy's coming out for football. Freshman year, Troy never came out. Sophomore year, Troy's coming out. Never came out. Junior year, same thing. I heard it before this year. I didn't think he would come out. Boy, I'm glad he did. Because he had a tremendous year. Without any experience, he was very impressive. Troy took a lot of razzing and teasing as a result of being involved with the cheerleaders last year, and I think that just shows you what kind of young man he is. When he sets his mind to do something, he's going to do it. And he has a lot of talent, a lot of athletic ability, but it took a lot for him to do what he did this year. You know, when you've never played high school football before, and you don't know the system offensively or defensively, and you come out, it takes some doing. In fact, I remember back in the summer practice, I said to Troy, sometime, you know, he'd do the wrong thing, go the wrong way or whatever, and he'd kind of shake his head, and I said, it's quite a bit in Troy. He said, yeah. He said, well, I study every night. And school hasn't, I said, it's like going to school, isn't it? He said, yeah. He said, I study every night. But he got it down. He got it down offensively, defensively. He had to learn everything in a short period of time. He was our second leading scorer, or receiver, 259 yards and 2 touchdowns. Made some great catches. One was as good as any against Barnesville. Also, he played in the backfield. And then when we switched John to the backfield full-time, he went in and played full-time split end. Did an outstanding job. Led the team on defense with 5 interceptions and came up with some big plays, like the big one against Bellsville on the end around for the touchdown. So Troy, we're glad that you came out. Congratulations on a great year. Okay, seniors, you can sit down now. One other senior that remains standing, the young lady to my left, my daughter Janie. Janie's been with us the last couple of years as a student trainer. This was on her own choice. She wanted to do this. She's thinking about pursuing this type of thing in the future as far as college is concerned. And this was a great experience for her. It wasn't easy, you know, being the only girl around 29 guys. But she weathered it well, and probably more importantly, or tougher than anything else being around the guys, is she had to be around her dad. Not only at home, but at practice. And she made a statement a couple times that, you know, it's tough to work for him. I realize that. I know I'm not easy to work with. And, you know, when you get all worked up and everything, things are tough. But I really appreciate, Janie, your efforts for what you've done. I think all these guys do too. For the time and effort. And at this time, I'd like Coach Singleton to present Janie with the plaque for Senior Student Trainer. One other senior is not here this evening, and that's Mark Kidd. I do want to mention because Mark has a plaque coming, and Mark did an outstanding job coming on this year for 4 years. All the write-ups you see in the paper and all the statistics that are compiled that you see in the program, he's responsible for that. Calling in the games and so on and so forth. He did it with some help some years, and he did it alone. This year we got him some help, a little ways through the season. And so at this time I'd like to recognize Mark's helper, and hopefully she'll continue to help next year, Gretchen Gertback Hare. Stand up, Gretchen. Okay, I'd like to take the individual classes one at a time to hold your applause, and we want to give out the certificates and letters. We'll do the seniors first, and then they'll sit down, and then the juniors, then the sophomores, and the freshmen. We'll try to get through this real quick. Okay, first of all, the seniors come forward. Letter winner for the first time, and some of these boys that letter for the first time will be getting a letter, a football, and they will all get certificates. Jimmy Ann, Troy Baker, Corey Bott. Could you help me here passing these out? It'll go a little quicker. Daniel Carter, Stephen Hare, Jason Henthorne, John Kaiser, Mike Kirkbride. That's our senior group. Let's give them a round of applause. Juniors, please come forward at this time. Chad Weber. First year letter winner, manager Jason Baldwin. First year letter winners, Chris Dalrymple, Chris Lynn, also freshman Robert Allen, Jonathan Collar, Mike Ludwig, Larry Nelson, Rick Russell. Good group of freshmen. Let's hear it for the freshmen. If you would, Bill, a 9-1 season in an ODAC championship. And I've said this before, there's no other school that I know of around. Mr. X could probably attest to this because he's been around a number of schools. There's no other school around. I think the organizations such as the football balls and the sideliners do any more for our kids than these guys. So at this time, for their achievements of winning the OPAC championship, each sideliner will be presenting each member of the team with a special plaque. Now, it's not totally finished yet, fellas, and I want to tell you about that. We had a heck of a time trying to get these and get them done and get them here tonight. I was hoping we would have everything just right, and I was worried that something might not come in. It did come in, but it wasn't just right. There's a little foul up on the picture. The picture is there. But before you leave here tonight, I'm going to ask you that you give these back to me tonight. And for this reason, if I don't get them tonight, it'll be like full teeth getting them from you. And the correct picture will be here next week, and I'll finish the plaques and get them back to you next week. The one little foul up on the pictures, and I'm going to ask them to hold them up in a minute, is that the numbers happen to be backwards. They just so happen to develop the negative the wrong way. If the sideliners would please hold these up so everybody can see them. On top is a team picture, and underneath it says 1990 Redskins 9-1 OVAC champs, has the complete schedule with all the scores on, and I will add the names on the back when I get them back. there's a piece of plexiglass that goes in there with 4 brass tacks that I'll put in once we get the correct picture. Something that you can keep for the rest of your life. So this time I'm going to ask the sideliners to pass those out, present them to the kids. There's one for each player, managers, Jamie, and also for the coaches. Thank you, fellas. Nice to keep it. I don't know what to say. That's super. I don't know how to keep coming up with these ideas, but each year it gets bigger and better. That's just outstanding. Thank you very much. For years, and we haven't been able to pull it off. But this year, with the help of, I mentioned Kenny earlier, Kenny Robinson, and I can't tell you how much time and work that Jerry Calder's put into this. We met in a short period of time in the last 2 weeks and put a lot of hours in. Jerry by himself and us together. We got home from St. Clairsville the other night about 1:30, 1:45 in the morning. We've got a little something special for you. Each year, and you notice I didn't do that earlier, each year I kind of recap the season and get down and talk a little bit about each game. This year we have something better than that. And so at this time I want you to sit back and enjoy the 1990 Redskins. I could ask you fellas to take your bricks and put them down on the floor so that the balloons will be down. And it'll just take us just a minute. You might have to hold them too for a while. Take pull that. No, you gotta pull that thing out. Pull that out.
The only time we need that done one time is we just have to
Where's the rewind? It's automatic. It should be automatic. Where's you'll put it on. All right, everybody got one of the seniors?
No, you have
Okay, juniors. Juniors, can everybody's face? Can everybody's face there now?
Smile a little bit.